And today we're rebounding by talking about virtual events. It's been a very difficult year for organizations all across the Bay Area. Summer is always a difficult time, and making that turn into the fall months, it's made even more difficult because of the pandemic. But the Kimberly home has found a way to make it work. Joining me, the Executive Director, Kate Kelly, Housing Director, Carrie Fine. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
You know, just over the weekend, I was honored to be, again, for the fourth year in a row, an MC for your annual gala, but things a little bit different this year. Kate, I think it was probably just a few months ago when you called me and said, we're going to make a go at it and try and do it virtually this year. How difficult of a decision was that for you?
Wow, that was extremely difficult because we had no idea what we were looking at, what we were about to experience, how it would work. Should we try it? Should we not try it? It was a very tough decision, actually, but we're glad we did.
You are glad you did, because I am so proud to say that you started with a goal of $50,000 to raise during the gala, and you exceeded that. You went over $60,000, and the brains behind the operation, Carrie Fine. Carrie, you worked with a company, an app called Qtego. And you really were the brainchild behind making all that work. You had a vision for this early on, that this was the way to go. Just describe how the process worked and how you brought it all together.
Well, we actually, like a lot of groups do, we had a committee that came together. And when we reached out to Qtego, they were starting to do virtual events because of the COVID. And so we were able to gather silent auction items, live auction items, just like we would if we had a live in-person event. And as we put those together, people were able to go onto an app, which was super easy, be able to bid on those things during the event, even prior. And it was, it was a complicated. We had to have a technical team come in, help us with some video. We had to definitely think through the program more because we had to use more video, because we had to be able to tell the story because people weren't in the room with us.
It was very interesting. So basically describe it to the listeners and the viewers out there. You set up a broadcast from the Kimberly Home campus. Let's talk about the Kimberly Home and what you guys do. It's a pregnancy resource center. Really, some of the engines that drive you are your thrift stores. There are 2 locations in the Bay Area, and all the proceeds that from those thrift stores go right in to help the Pregnancy Resource Center. You house women there. You provide all kinds of things for young mothers. There's a daycare on site. Look, these donations and funds, they literally save lives. And it can't be understated. But you set up a broadcast. So we filmed, we had a live cast projected out through this Qtego app, also through Facebook. People can get in there and they can watch, they can interact just as we went along. Kate, it was just like you would have been at a gala years before with the Kimberly home. You had a silent auction, you had a live auction, and there were plenty of opportunities to donate money directly to different causes.
Yeah, we tried to replicate the gala as much as possible. With everything the way it is and how difficult it is to gather, we thought, well, this could work. And we had spoken to a few people who had recently, done the same thing, and they were encouraging. So we thought, we'll give it a try. The upside of it too, James, is that we were able to reach out to people who normally would not be able to attend. So we had people from all over the country really tuning in who normally wouldn't be there. So that bonus is on top of everything else.
What a great bonus that is too, and a success. And this is an opportunity for you to pass along tips to other organizations that will be listening to this, and they're about to embark on a similar thing because we're still under the pandemic, and gathering in large groups is still against the CDC guidelines and against the mandates that all our counties have put in place too. So this is still something we're facing. And these fall months are when a lot of organizations have their big events. And the gala for the Kimberly home is your main fundraiser for the entire year. It's so important. I mean, canceling, Carrie, could not have been an option. It couldn't have been for you guys.
It definitely wasn't, especially this time of year, and just a normal year. And then with everything that's been going on. So it was very vital that we did it. And I'm really glad we did, because really in the future, it's going to open up even more opportunities that we can have people in a room doing a live event with them in person, but also have people be able to participate virtually too. And so I think that's what's going to be coming into play for our coming year and many of our other events.
She's Carrie Fine, Kate Kelly, the executive director with the Kimberly Home, joining me here on the Rebound Tampa Bay podcast. I'm so glad you said that, Carrie, because as we celebrated afterwards and we had a socially distant drink on the campus, Kate said to me that that's it. From this point forward, even if we are able to gather in a large venue again, we're going to do this virtually as well. We're gonna do a double whammy. And I think, Kate, you immediately had the vision for that after you saw how well it went. And like you said, this opened it up to all kinds of people from all over the country. And even some that maybe just didn't feel like going out, they can sit at home and watch it and still donate and contribute to the gala.
Right. The other side of that, another bonus too, that we found is that, with everything that's going on, we were a little hesitant to approach vendors for donations for the silent auction, and we're sensitive to that. But I have to tell you that they all came forward. We were really surprised in the end at how many people still donated items to us, so we could really have a wonderful silent auction and live auction that night. So that was a real surprise. That was a fear in the beginning, but it was a real surprise and turned out great.
Well, I think there was a lot of nervous energy about a half hour before we went live. And, the person who really held everything together and was the glue was Carrie, because as we're in there and we did a dry run through and I showed up as the MC and, we worked. Carrie, I don't know if you realize this, but you and I worked just like a producer and an anchor team would work if we were broadcasting live across the air. We worked from 5 minutes ahead. We basically took it in 5-minute chunks. And what was, again, a very smart thing that you did with this gala, and another tip for organizations out there, you wanted to make it very much a show, basically an hour-long show. And one of the thoughts was, well, why don't we get a camera crew out here a few weeks prior and do like a virtual tour of the Kimberly Home campus? Because a lot of people who go to the gala and donate and contribute and have for years have never seen the campus. They've never seen where these young mothers are able to stay, whether or not they were in an abusive relationship or whatever the circumstances may be. They can be safe with a newborn many times, and they can stay on the campus. You got a chance to see the daycare. Kate, we got a chance to see the ultrasound room where we were all a little misty-eyed when we talked about that's the moment that some of the most joyful news is given to, right. a young woman. We did this. We went out with a camera crew and we shot all these things, and then we cut it into little segments and we showed it throughout the evening, kind of like a little breather. We didn't take a break for dinner like we would at the traditional gala. We were taking these little breaks with this video that showed the campus. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Kate, I think you really felt like when people were at home watching this, it definitely influenced some people to donate that maybe otherwise wouldn't, because they saw exactly where their money was going to go.
Absolutely, and I had been on texting with my family throughout, and they were commenting like, "Wow, we had no idea you had all that, and this place looks great." And other donors too were commenting the next day, is like, we have to come out now and see. But thanks for that view, because we just didn't know that all that was there. You hear it, but until you see it, I think it really makes a huge difference.
And again, part of the show, part of the program that you decided you were going to put together virtually. Carrie, moving forward into the coming years here, you did get everything under control. As I said, you had it figured out. What would you do differently? How would you approach this differently down the road?
I think, one thing is I would look at some of the pieces a little differently. I loved how we were able to tell the story of the Kimberly home. But, I think there's some things that I love to get in people's hands prior to it or even after, which is something we are going to talk about. But I think doing more of the invite, like come see us after this, come participate. I don't think we did a great job at like inviting people to participate other than to give. And I think people getting involved would be a great asset to it.
Kate, any thoughts on moving forward, how you might do this differently now that you're armed with a very successful virtual gala under your belt?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we need to do is start earlier and really reach out and just broadcast that, this is going to happen and you can be a part of it. Getting those emails in order, and making sure that they're valid ones ahead of time, just asking people to share. That would help a lot to get more participants. But we didn't know what was happening. So, first time out, not too bad.
Not too bad at all. I was going to say, I think there was a tentative feeling amongst all of us, me as, the MC, the host, and I know Carrie, we were just hoping that there wasn't going to be any technical snafus or anything that might put us, knock us off. Here's an interesting little behind the scenes thing that happened. And Carrie, you made the call on this, and I thought it was really smart, is that we had a James Bond theme this year. And, with that, we wanted to include some James Bond music. And you pulled the plug on that, Carrie, because we were also, in addition to being on the Qtego app that people registered for, and they were on their phones or their smart devices there watching this, you also had it on Facebook, and you knew Facebook was really important for people to watch. That was public. Anybody could come in and watch. But you pulled the plug on the music because you said right away there could be a copyright claim put on by Facebook, and that would kick us off, and we would lose that viewership.
Yeah, and that was something we had not thought clearly through going into the event. And so I think in the future, we'll have some of our own recorded music, or we'll work ahead of time to get the approval to use some of that thematic music, because I think having a theme really made a huge difference. The James Bond theme was carried throughout the night in every aspect of what we did, and I thought that was cool and fun. But I think, knowing those kind of legalities, I think were vitally important, and I think that's an area we didn't spend as much time in as we should have.
But it was smart to err on the side of caution there with about 10 minutes to go before airtime, by the way, when you decided, nope, we got to pull the music because it kept us on. And I'll tell you what, we're really desperately all looking for some optimistic things to come out of this pandemic. I left that event Saturday night feeling I felt like this was more of a team effort than any of the three previous I was a part of. And that's not saying that I didn't feel like there was a team effort in the three previous galas that I was able to host for you guys. I just felt we all had to come together and work together in a way that we didn't before. And as a result, I think we're all closer because of it. I mean, we all had our roles. And I have Carrie and Kate here, but there were, 10 or a dozen other people that were just as important to the operation. I just felt a whole lot. I felt a greater sense of pride. I felt a greater sense of accomplishment walking away from this. And that's just me. But I totally think that's one positive to look on.
I agree. We even at the last minute had to have people for Facebook Messenger just to be available for questions. I mean, there were so many people that were doing so many different parts that maybe only had to work for 5 minutes, but that part was so critical.
Absolutely. Well, we're a close team to begin with, but I agree with you. I think we really had to pull together and pull this off, and we had no choice but to just all chip in and do what we needed to do to make it happen. And thanks to you, James, and you were awesome, and Carrie was the kingpin here, so we really can't thank you both enough for everything you did to let that happen.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I will say it was probably a half hour to go in the show when Carrie waved me over to her laptop. This is a half hour in, so maybe halfway through, and you had hit your goal, which was just tremendous for that to happen. Not at the end. We weren't scraping together at the end. You hit your $50,000 goal with about a half hour to go. I think we got there, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, right before the live auction, that's usually the big one. That's when you guys are able to, get a lot of your funding for the coming year. You did it before that. So what a tremendous thing.
Yeah, and that was fun to be able to be in an event where we were able to see numbers right in live time and be able to share that with the audience that was watching and all of that. And you were so much fun to work with that because you just responded so quickly to it. And I mean, you're a natural at that, but being able to share that with people, I think just created such an excitement in the room with the people that we were with, but also online. I think it created an excitement that I've not seen in other events that I've ever worked at like this.
I couldn't agree more. That's the Qtego program that you used, and I'll put a link to that in the description of this podcast. So you want to go check it out if you work for an organization that you think could benefit from it. I'm not into giving free publicity, but I will say that in this case, that program worked quite well and helped you accomplish what you set out to accomplish with this event. But you're right. In years past, Kate and I would always draw the 50-50 raffle winner at the end of the night. And, it was always funny to me because you have these great volunteers, but they're counting up $1 bills, ones and fives. So I'd ask, do you guys have a total? And they're like, not yet, sweetheart. Just hold on a second. They're literally like by hand, counting and adding and computing this. But we had it instantly this year. We had that amount. If you were in watching the event virtually, you could go to a screen. It was called a Fill the Heart campaign, and you'd watch this heart slowly fill up with red. And the higher it got, that was the closer you were to your goal. But you saw the exact dollar amount that was there. And from a marketing standpoint, Carrie, I'm sure you've thought of this too. When people see it visually like that, and they see you're a certain distance away from a goal, or you're over a goal, whatever else, that influences donation amounts as well.
You see that with all the big organizations, like, so many large organizations that do these kind of events. That's a lot of the strategy that they use because people want to know that they're a part of something big. They recognize that a $25 donation does something, but when it's combined with other $25 and you see that, you go, wow, I'm a part of something important.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And when in this particular case, when you can look and stay in that app and you can look upon descriptions and send your money directly to things. Like we had a description for strollers. If you'd like to buy a couple of strollers for the Kimberly home to give these young moms. Car seats is another big one that I saw. Maintenance and upkeep for the housing on the campus for these young ladies. You could send money directly to that cause. Again, another marketing technique and something else where you see exactly where your money is going. And Kate, I know that was something that you really were very happy was a part of this.
Absolutely. I think most people think just baby items, and which is great. We absolutely need that. But there's so much else that goes on to keep Kimberly Home running and functioning with the housing and the childcare and the maintenance. There's just a lot. And I think this gave us the opportunity to share that, which we normally wouldn't be able to do.
It certainly would. I'm going to give Kate Kelly, the executive director here at the Kimberly Home, the floor here to talk about the year that's been and is going past us, hopefully as fast as possible. But you guys got through it. You weathered another storm. And in reflecting upon 2020 after the gala, Kate, what are your thoughts? What comes to your mind?
I see a lot of hope. It was difficult, like was for most people, but it's, especially for our moms and babies, that just added a whole level of stress in their lives. But I think we're coming through this well, and it's given a lot of people the opportunity to really get out there and do good in the community. We've seen a lot of people who come forward we've never met before, and people are just in a real generous mood. I mean, they're really trying to do something positive with all the negativity that's out there. And, they're just coming together. So there's lots of hope for the future. And I think we're heading in a really good direction.
Now, I will take a sunny side up conversation with you two any day of the week. And I'm glad I could provide it to all the Rebound Tampa Bay podcast listeners out there. Carrie Fine, thank you so much for being a part of this. Kate Kelly, thank you as well. And
thank you, Jane.
What can I say? Looking forward to the gala next year, where we're going to try it both ways, virtual
Exactly.
and in person. And here's to more success, continued success. Thank you both.
Thank you.
New episodes of the Rebound Tampa Bay podcast drop every Wednesday morning on Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify, and you can watch a video version on the ABC Action News streaming news channel and on my Facebook page. That's James Tully TV.